Oi, pessoal, bom dia. Estamos aqui com o Alessio Planeta, que já está entrando. Só um minutinho para ele entrar. Expectativa para um bate-papo muito bacana. Hello, Alessio. Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, fine. We just
Here we
wait for
are.
people to get in.
Yeah.
You see
Here we
lots of
are.
people getting in. It's early in Brazil before lunch.
What time is it now in Brazil?
Now 11:30.
Okay.
It's the
It's
aperitif
4:30.
before lunch.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Summer?
Yes, I spent the last 3 days going around the vineyards to check the vineyards, and so this is why I'm a little bit, when you stay all day under the sun in the middle of the vineyard, it's a long day, but it's lovely.
Yes,
This
and I
is
know
the
that in Sicily, when it's summer, it is summer. It's warm.
Yes. Yeah, we have a serious summer, but we are surrounded by the sea, so when it's too hot, we can go and swim, and back to work.
So I was just talking. Many people I think don't know, but I have a new radio program every day, 11:20 in CBN Paraná, Maringá. And the subject of the program was Planeta. And we were talking in the radio that Sicily is a word itself, because it's more Greek than Italy, and it's more Italian than Greece. And it has many invaders like Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Arabs, Romans, everything. And now it survived everyone, and now it's surviving the tourists, the new invaders.
This is true.
So, and this guy asked me in the radio, can we relate today's wines in Sicily to Greek wines?
There were many research done about this, because of course we are very interested in to discover what is the past of Sicilian wine. And we can say that in Italy, in Sicily, we have two different roots in the wine. On the west, we have Phoenician roots. So Phoenician were people living in what we call today Lebanon, North Africa, and these people founded like Palermo and Trapani, and they arrived on the border of Selinunt. And then you have the Greek people that found all the southeast Greek colony, so Siracusa, Taormina, and all the island on the southeast. And Greek people bring in Sicily variety like, for example, Grecanico. So Grecanico is for sure something with Greek origin. And they make an interesting DNA analysis of Sicilian grapes, just to understand a little bit better the connection between variety. And we can see that Sicilian variety are quite close to the Greek variety, especially the one on the southeast. South of Italy means Sicily, Calabria, and Puglia were called in the antiquity Enotria, so land of wine, because they stopped in Sicily, they introduced grapes. The first way the first thing to bring with you were for sure variety grapes, and Sicily is full of this kind of emotion, if I can say.
Well, for the ones who are arriving now, I'm welcoming Alessio Planeta from Planeta Winery in Sicily. Well, Sicily is the greatest island in Mediterranean with 25,000 kilometers, and it's correct me, Alessio, if I'm wrong, the second wine producing region in Italy after Veneto.
Yes.
With volume and of course quality. Yesterday I was preparing myself for this interview, and I was reading old articles of mine, and I found one where an old interview with your brother, Santi, from 2006. And I first tasted the Chardonnay and was very impressed, and saying that it was the reborn, un rinascimento from Sicily. Because we relate in Brazil, or you don't know Sicily, or you relate it with Marsala. And I'm going to tell you a tale. I lived in Italy many years ago. I lived for a while in Milano. And I went for dinner in an Italian friend's house, and I brought a bottle of Marsala. because I love this Marsala. And the guy said, oh, isn't this for cooking? Is it for drinking? So even in Italy, people don't know, well, Sicily, I know, maybe not now, but then 20 years ago, no. So Sicily is a world apart with many, many grapes and many styles of wine, starting with Marsala. Can you talk about Marsala to us, describe what it is?
Yeah, I think that Sicily is really land of biodiversity and geodiversity. We have such a different kind of variety and terroir. So the wine that we produce in Sicily are very, very different. This was the inspiration of Planeta. We was born in Memphis, but now we have winery in 5 different places of Sicily. And at the end of 19th century, Marsala, that was done on the southwest part of Sicily. Marsala is a wine, but it's also a city. As you know, there are not so many wine with the name of the city. Bordeaux is one of these, and Marsala is one of these. And Marsala became super famous because there was a moment in the history where British people that had at that time the biggest fleet in the world, they stopped to buy wine from Portugal for political problems, and they started to produce something similar to Porto in Sicily. And they make so the first producer of Marsala had a British name, Ingham Woodhouse, so very British name. And these people make Marsala became such a big production, super important production. And something very big in Italy. From that time, wine in Sicily developed a lot. But just to bring you back a little bit more, 150 years ago, in Sicily, there were 3 times more vineyards than today. So Sicily was literally covered of vineyards. Yeah. During phylloxera times, we were maybe the only place with grapes. So Sicilian used to export wine everywhere, and so we had a great past, and we had a not easy time from the 60s to the 90s, and then in the 90s there was a group of producers, a group of new generation of producers that start the, as you said very well, a renaissance of Sicilian wine. And now
another tale I have from when I lived in Milano is that everyone said that the wines from the north are bullshit, the good wines are from the south, and the wines from the north had some wines from the south inside to fortify, to give color, to give body. So the image is good.
Yeah, this I think was something more for in the past, in the old time when but in the last 50 years the north they make great wine, and Sicily was a place where we used to Sicilian used to sell a lot of wine also in France, believe me or not, but every year there were millions of hectoliters moving from Sicily to France,
really?
doing not the best wine. Honestly, the everyday wines they was done in Sicily. But what the revolution in Sicily was that producers stopped to working for quantity and work for quality. Start to work for really rediscovering their the traditional old wines. That today are wine from Etna, wine from Cerasolo di Vittoria area, the local grapes, and also some French grapes. Also, in Sicily we work with 20 native grapes, 50 ancient grapes, and all the French grapes. So we have like a lot of color to make a good picture.
How do you differentiate native grapes from ancient grapes?
Okay, native grapes are cultivated in Sicily. Ancient grapes is a work of research done by the Sicilian government with some producer like us, and they do something like this. They go around the old vineyards, asking to the old producer, maybe the classic old guys living in the country, the Sicilian one with a Sicilian hat. asking them if they eventually they have some different plants in the vineyards with special names. They take the stocks from these plants and they do a DNA analysis to be sure that was not existing variety. And they classify these grapes, and they find 50 different. And for example, us in Planeta, we work with 3 of these in the north part of Sicily with very strange name like Vitrarola. Or Vitrarola is the name came because the wood of the grapes are a little bit like a glass, like vetro in Italian means glass. So these old grapes they seem to be in silver wood. Or there's another one called the Lucignola, or very strange name. Maybe they are not perfect, but there's a lot of biodiversity there that we have to keep.
Do you make field blends in Sicily?
Field
blends, grapes planted mixed together, or even grapes
field plants,
yeah.
Exist for sure. For example, on the Etna. Because in the Etna, old people used to mix varieties to be sure that if, for example, this year you have a problem in this variety, you have a little bit of the other variety, and at least you can have your full barricks of wine, because you need wine for your heart and for your soul. But today, we prefer not mixing variety in the same parcel. We try to adapt. We start to have a lot of experience, but now we do also a geological research of the land, and we adapt variety to the geological research to try to do the best. But there are some old vineyards where they are mixed a little bit more.
And I believe there are many Refloxera vines too.
Yes, they are less than people imagine, because you know why? Because after Phylloxera, there were a lot of changing of variety for not for health problem of the vineyards, but more for commercial problem or for economic problem. So viticulture in the 18th and 19th century was most on the Etna area around the volcano. Then with Marsala moved on the west of Sicily, and so sometimes they start to move variety in different corners of Sicily because there was different demand of wine, and of course, as you can imagine, life in the country area is not so easy in Sicily. It was not so easy in Sicily, so sometimes they move from another area to another one.
Well, you mentioned the volcano Etna. One very particular thing in Sicily is the soil, the volcanic soil. And I remember I was in Sicily several years ago, visiting vineyards after the rain. It was not rainy, but it was raining the previous day. So I was unwarned, and I entered the vineyard. And my first step went down in mud, like half a meter, because the soil is very thin and very dark. So my leg became black in black volcanic mud.
And you bring back this sandy black soils back in Brazil, because it's very difficult to clean your
yes.
Because it's like a powder.
Yes, I brought some of the Sicilian terroir to Brazil.
Exactly. Well, this is very interesting. I read a book about the geodiversity of Sicily that is quite unique. Sicily is an island in the middle of the sea, but it's also in the middle between Africa and Euro-Asia. So we are, of course, in a place with a lot of pressure, and the land of Sicily is done by. I have a map here. I hope that people can see this. The north of Sicily is done of mountains. The southwest and southeast are soil that came out from the sea. And then you have all the volcano system. There is the Etna, that is the highest volcano of all Europe. It's 3,300 meters. But we have also have volcanoes in front of Messina, in Aeoli Island. Pantelleria, that is in the middle of the sea, is in the middle between Sicily and Africa, is also a volcano. And there is a couple of volcanoes also under the sea. The reason is because we are in a place of pressure, and with the pressure, sometimes the lava want to come out from the center of the earth. So of course, we also have some earthquakes, unfortunately, sometimes. By the way, the volcanic soils they are in a specific area of Sicily. In the rest of Sicily, we have sometimes red sandy soils, like in Cerasuolo di Vittoria area. We have this where I am today. I am in Vittoria here now, and the soils is red and sandy. You have white soils in the southeast of Sicily. You have clay soils on the west part of Sicily, and the black soils on the volcano, as you said. And the result is that Sicilian wine are very diverse depending where you are, totally diverse in a different area. And just to give you an idea, there is also a lot of different in weather condition in Etna, in Sicily, because we start the harvest in the first 10-15 days of August with the Moscato in Noto, with the Chardonnay in Menfi, and we finish the harvest on the last days of October on the Etna with Narello Mascalese. So 3 full months of harvest in a small island that is quite unique.
And you mentioned you are very close to Africa. And one thing that is very, very typical from Sicily is the wind, Sirocco, right?
Yes. Sirocco, we are, we have around 160 miles from Africa in the closer point. And the south of Sicily, so in the corner of Sicily, the area of Noto, this is the corner of Sicily, is southern than the northern part of Africa. So Tunisia is more in the north than south of Sicily. But but people expect sometimes from Sicily to be to visit a desert, but Sicily is exactly the opposite of this. Sicily is a garden, and the reason is that being surrounded by the sea, we have a great effect of sea breeze around Sicily, a decent quantity of rain in some area. A lot of rain, like in the top of the Etna or in the north of Sicily. So Sicily is more green than people can imagine. And the Scirocco could arrive sometimes. It's usually 3 days, and after this you have to clean your car because you have the sand of the desert that is that cover your car. But it's much warmer in the north of the island, because when the Scirocco arrives on the south coast, it brings the fresh air from the sea. Then it became warmer on the land. On the opposite side, when in Sicily we have wind in summertime, wind from the north, this is hot because travel all Sicily and arrives much warmer on Sicily. But just to give you an idea about how Sicily for the climate is a paradise, I have a house in Palermo and a house in Menfi, and I don't have air condition, and I sleep very well because in the night time you open the windows and you have some fresh air coming from the sea, and this is enough for let you sleep well.
Well, by coincidence, I just watched these days a movie that is based on Sicily. It's a war movie called Patton, about the American general
Patton, yeah,
when he conquered Messina, kicking out the Nazis.
Yes.
And as we are talking about cinema, of course, when you think about Sicily, many people will think about the grandfather, the mafia. Yeah. Is it still a reality in Italy, in Sicily?
No, absolutely not. This is first of all, we had a big problem in Sicily. The problem was that there were a few movies that was so strong in that make an image of Sicily that like if Sicily was all the same everywhere. That is completely false. In the Sicily was difficult until the end of 80s. And then at the beginning of the 90s, there were some judges that were killed by mafia. And these people give the life for fight mafia. And there was a big changing in the culture, in society, in the young people, and the mind of people. And after this, first of all, they make some special laws and bring all the mafia people to the jail. and now I can say that Sicily is like any other place in the world. It's not perfect, so we are not Switzerland, but we are well, we live in, especially in the country area where the style of life is a style of life of all style of life with the value of living in agriculture is absolutely a great place.
Well, don't worry. You are talking to Brazilians that live here with many kinds of mafia, so don't worry. And
No, I know.
okay, by coincidence, next week I'm going to present one of my favorite tastings with one of my idols, which is a singer, Frank Sinatra. And one of the chapters of my tasting will be about Sicily. Of course, I will mention the mafia, which is something from the past. But Frank Sinatra, the greatest popular singer of all times, is a son from Sicily too. So Sicily gives good things to the world.
Yeah, and also if I'm right, Cimino was from Sicily, so there were many movie director and that were inspired by the Sicilian. But Sicily is many things, and it's a special word with beautiful things and difficult things, and this make our land so special. But I can say that there was a big changing in the mind of people that make Sicily in the last years, for example, at least have a big increasing of tourism. Of course, before COVID, because COVID was changed everything. But Sicily became one of the place to visit. A lot of top restaurants, a lot of good investment, and the old city are full of people. Because to visit in Sicily, you mentioned at the beginning, in Sicily, being the position of Sicily was a position that if you dominate Sicily, you dominate all the Mediterranean area. So we had in Sicily Greek, Phoenician, Romans, Arabs, Spanish, British, any kind of people that influence our culture, our architecture. So we are full of antiquities, and some of the city of Sicily are, you can stay days for visiting the different village with different stories, different culture, different food. That is very funny because wherever you go in Sicily, you have different food. Because on the west you eat couscous like with a clear Arab influence. If you go on the north you eat salumi and pork in the mountains. If you go in I don't know in Noto, you eat almost the best patisserie in the world maybe. So it's land of also good food. As unfortunately, this is why I'm a bit too fat.
You mentioned the many antiques you have in Sicily, and I know many temples. For example, a lot of people don't know, but the symbol of UNESCO, that Greek temple in the symbol of UNESCO, is not in Greece, it's in Sicily.
Ah, yeah.
In Agrigento.
Concordia. Temple Concordia, you're right. And Sicily is the place with the highest number of UNESCO point in the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Sicily is really surprised. To give you an idea, near our winery in Ulmo, in Sambuca, Sicilia, where Planeta was born, 25 years ago, we found in the middle of the forest, in the middle of the rocks, palmetto of 2,500 years ago. So, because our place is not far from Selinunte was one of the biggest city of the antiquity. They have around the big city some people that produce food and wine and whatever they need for the big city. And so in the middle of the mountain, in the middle of nowhere, there was this Greek enormous palmetto that give you the idea how all the history of wine and all this in Sicily wine culture.
And something that I think a lot of people don't know, that Sicily produces fantastic wines in many styles. I mean, white wines, that I'm passionate about Sicily white wines, light red wines, like Nerello Mascalese, for example, full-body red wines from Nero d'Avola, for example, most famous grape, and fortified wines like Marsala, and sweet wines, the Pasitos, right? Do you produce all this range?
Yes, first I didn't introduce myself saying that in Planeta I am we are a family company, so I am one of the founder and co-owner, but also I am a winemaker, so I make the wines of Planeta with a team, because now we have 400 hectares in 5 different places of Sicily, and so when I start to make wines, I start to make wine in Memphis, so in the southwest of Sicily. Where we was born, so my family was based here since century, and of course we start here our project in wine, and we start using French grapes and Sicilian grapes together, because the area of Memphis is an area where white works very well, and French grapes works very well. After this, in '97, we start to explore Sicily, going first in Vittoria for the Cerasuolo di Vittoria. Then in '98, we went to Noto. So it was like to making a tour of Sicily from Memphis, going to Vittoria, southeast, Noto, the corner of Sicily, Etna, the volcano, and the last was in Capo Milazzo, the north of Sicily. And we understood how much diversity there is in Sicily. We understood many years ago how many wines you can produce, and of course we make in a special way. So we don't have grapes there. We have in each of these places vineyards and wineries. So we have the vineyards and the winery around. Planeta is not a big winery. It's a collection of 5 wineries in 5 different places of the island. And this is the essence of our project, and there are nothing in common in this wine, because everyone want to exprime and show the wine potential, the terroir of the area. In each winery we have a different winemaker, and I coordinate all of them, because really we want to keep separate every area to give you the real expression of the different areas. Soils are different, variety are different, style of wine are different.
As we're focusing in your company, Planeta, how old is the company?
Our family is based in Sicily since 17th generation, but the Planeta, and for example, my grandfather, that was a man, a special man, born in 1893. I don't know if you can imagine what was Sicily in 1893 in the country area. It was very difficult to arrive there, very unsafe, very hard. By the way, there was something different, but not easy. There were bandits, more than a lot of bandits. My grandfather was one of the founder of a cooperative in the 50s. My uncle Diego is really a pioneer of Sicilian wine, because he was a president of this cooperative. He was president of the Institute of Research and Promotion of Sicilian Wine. And so when we found Planeta, and Planeta was founded, we can say in '85, planting the vineyards, and in '95, 10 years after, with a lot of research and trial, we have done the first harvest and first winery in Sambuca, Sicilia. So '95 is the first vintage that is today 25 years ago, starting in Memphis and then exploring all Sicily. That was our project from the beginning.
So I remember tasting your wines from the vintage maybe 2000, I think. It was 2006. I talked to your brother. So I'm following more or less since the beginning. And you said you have 5 wineries now.
Yes.
Different wines, but I imagine a common philosophy. Can you talk about the philosophy of your company? Yeah. What do you achieve in your wines?
So first of all, we work since many years with a sustainable program called Sustain. That was founded by Planeta and Tasca many years ago. It's a program that is not only how you grow the vineyard, so without using, of course, grass killer, pesticide, and many other things, but how you manage all your wineries. If you visit our place, you will see that every place is in perfect balance with the nature, it's in perfect balance with the architecture, and we take care about everything in the company, not only how you make the wines. We only use our grapes, so this is philosophy of Planeta, is to close the process. So we start exploring the place, finding land that we like it, and we study this, then we plant the vineyards, we transform the wine, doing all the process at home. And then the other philosophy is that we want to to show the different terroir of Sicily, because when you taste our wines, you have a clear idea, I hope, of course. If it's not, I had to change job. That you find the different style of the place. If in a few words, we make wine in Etna that is well, minerality, of course, volcanic soils, altitude is what we have to show in the wine. Then we make wine in Noto, southeast of Sicily, calcareous soils, white soils, very extremely southern style of wine. Then we make wine in Vittoria, that you are on red sandy soil, so the wine are very aromatic and full of the typical flavors of Cerasuolo area. And then in the area of Menfi is a little bit more complex, because in Menfi we have 270 hectares of vineyards, because it's homeland in Memphis where we was born. And we work with white grapes and red grapes. We work with French grapes and Sicilian grapes, and our vineyards go from the sea level until 400 meters in Memphis. So Memphis is quite really a universe on wine, where that is for me the best expression of Mediterranean weather, with soils that give you from the richness of our Chardonnay, that is maybe our most well-known wine, until the aromatic style of some of our Grillos, for example. So, but the philosophy is for me, is try to put less hands than we can in the wine, and exprime and show the different terroir of Sicily. That is, for me, really the secret of Sicily.
Well, listening to you, I became very thirsty. Let's taste the famous Chardonnay, my favorite of your wines. I tasted many vintages, and some of them with some age. I was tasting since last year, many times. 2009, it was a very good mature Chardonnay. This is 2018. And please, how is this wine made?
Yeah, this wine is flag of Planeta for sure. As a winemaker, I put the same effort and heart in each wine, but I recognize this wine is our flag. And many years ago, your colleague Gentis Robinson made an article, and she said Chardonnay Planeta was the one that put Sicily on the map. Because that is not doesn't mean that is the best wine of Sicily, because of course not kind of things that I could never say, but was a wine that started to be present around the world in the right place, in the right moment, in a moment where Sicily was a sleeping giant, and people start to say, oh, there's something new coming from Sicily. And apart this, behind this wine, there is a story of two different stories. When I finished my study, I went to work for 1 year in Burgundy as a worker, not as a winemaker. Of course, I was too young. And when I fly back to Sicily, of course, I said, I was very close to Meursault. I said, I would like to make a Chardonnay barrel fermented, because blah, 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 blah. You know, when you are young, you think that everything is possible. And at the same time, when we start Planeta, we were very young. I was I had a master, a winemaker, that was Carlo Corino, that was a man born in Piemonte in the 40s, of this kind of period where there were many Italians that make history of Italian wines. And then he moves to Australia, and he stayed in Australia from 70s to 89. And then in 89, when we start Planeta at the beginning, we know the story of him, and we make, as you said, we made him an offer he can't refuse, and he fly back to Sicily, working with us. And of course, he was a man that used to work Chardonnay barrel fermented from Australia, so from warm area. And when we together start to work, we said, okay, let's make a Chardonnay barrel fermented, because our Chardonnay Planeta is at 100% barrel fermented Chardonnay. So it means that we do the harvest, of course. We select the grapes, we crush the grapes, we press in a soft press, and then we clean the juice for 2 days in a stainless steel tanks, and then we go to ferment in barriques, half new and half 1 year old. We stay 11 months in these French barriques, doing only batonnage every week or every 2 weeks in the second part of the year. And then we blend. In these days, we are blending the previous vintage. So immediately before the harvest, we do the blend and we bottle the wine. Done. The secret is first of all, because we work with white in barrique since 25 years, so we are quite... and the second secret, the real secret, are the vineyards. We have 2 vineyards of Chardonnay that are beautiful. One is on the border of the lake, and the other one is in a bit higher at 400 meters. And this Chardonnay give us the best quality, and so the combination is this wine that for me is an interesting style of Chardonnay with richness, with flavors, and a style. People recognize style of our Chardonnay, and this for me is a secret of a wine.
Yes, it's at the same time, Chardonnay is a very common grape. It's everywhere, Chardonnay with barrique. But your wine keeps all the qualities of Chardonnay, but with a different touch, a Mediterranean touch. And of course, you do malolactics 100%. But still, no, very, very nice. No?
Depending by the vintage, when we start the harvest, we understood if the acidity is hard or not. And we go from 30% to 50, 60% of malolactic.
Okay. The acidity is very good. The acidity is fantastic.
Altitude helps us because in these vineyards and the other things that is important, the vineyards are on the border of a lake. There are not so many lakes in Sicily, but this is one of these. So the vineyards are covered by some mountains and small lakes that, of course, keep a little bit more freshness in the area.
Well, I'm going to comment the wine, but people that know me know I love this wine. Is when you serve the wine, the wood is in front, but after a few minutes in the glass, it goes away, gives place to fruit, minerality, and a wonderful freshness that also is in the mouth, with good mid palate. Is a full wine, very lengthy, and I think it's a wine that deserves some aging. I like it with a few years in bottle. I was just tasting Planeta Chardonnay with 10 years old. It was very, very good. And how was 2018 as a vintage? How do you recommend?
18 was a good vintage. Was a fresh vintage. The second part of the vintage there was a little bit of rain, but at the beginning, so when you start the Chardonnay was fresh. Not a lot of grapes, but very good quality. And 18 on the southwest was a good vintage. And on the Etna also there was a good vintage. No, was a good vintage in Sicily 18. In one of the good vintage. Also in Sicily, people don't know, but we have a lot of diversity in the different in each vintage, and the weather in the last years is a little bit different from the past. You can sometimes we had some big rain that we never had before, but sometimes we like to have a little bit more rain than in the past. By the way, the weather became more unpredictable. This is the effect for me of the global warming in Sicily. Not not more hot, not more dry, but more unpredictable.
Well, I'm a Chardonnay lover. I used to taste lots of Burgundy wines, Le Montrachet, Pouligny, Chassagne, Meursault, and I believe this has the quality of maybe a Premier Cru of Burgundy, in different style, of course.
Thank you very much, because
as
a winemaker and the wine lovers, this is what is a dream for a Sicilian producer to do this, of course. Thank you very much.
You deserve. The wine is really, really good. Well, let's move to the reds and to one kind of style that probably is not very well known in Brazil. Cherazuolo di Vittoria.
Yeah.
A lighter red. Please let me know.
I am exactly in the area of production. First of all, Cherazuolo di Vittoria is the only Sicilian DOCG, so and is done in the south east of Sicily. And it's a blend of two grapes, Nero d'Avola and Frappato. And if Nero d'Avola is a grape that is in different area of Sicily, Frappato is only in this area. So Frappato, or Frappato di Vittoria, was a grape that was only in this area, so only adapted to this specific area. Soils here are red and sandy. So this is a system of terrace that from the sea that is very close to here. We are here at, I don't know, 1 kilometer from the sea, and we are around 50 meters over the sea level, so we are practically on the sea. And the soils are red and sandy. So there are 90 centimeters of red sandy soils, and then a lot of meters of white calcareous soils done by shells. So it's a great combination for making wine that are not so big, but they are very aromatic. So when you put the nose in a glass of Cherazuolo, you have these flavors of strawberry or red fruit, a little bit of spiciness, but lovely wine for me and distinctive wine. So the flavors you find here, you don't find in another place. You can like it or not, but it's something different.
Yeah, it's very fresh, very light, flowery, enchanted wine. There's someone here asking if Frappato is an ancient grape.
In the classification that we said, no, is not an ancient grapes in the terms of the one that were discovered, because the Frappato is cultivated in hundreds of hectares, was cultivated in thousands of hectares in the past, not only in hundreds of hectares, but is a local grapes, but not in one of the ancient grapes. The Frappato have not a lot of color comparing to the Nero d'Avola. The mix of the wine is not super. Cherazuolo means cherry colored. Is not a super dark wine. Is much more wine for flavors.
Clear.
Yeah. Some people ask the difference between Nero d'Avola from Vittoria and Menfi. It will give you the chance to talk about this. Nero d'Avola is a grape that, as Planeta, we grow in 4 different places: Menfi, Vittoria, Noto, and Capomilazzo. Every place is totally different. The Nero d'Avola in Vittoria is much more on the red fruit, is medium average of tannins, because the Nero d'Avola, the sandy soils are quite light soils. The Nero d'Avola in Menfi is more rich, it's more on the plums flavors, on the chocolate flavors, on the leather flavors. A bit more spicy, less female than the Nero d'Avola of Vittoria, a bit more with more structure. This is the difference between the two area. But the secret of Cherazuolo for me is the perfect marriage, I don't remember the word in English, between the two grapes. So the Nero d'Avola and the Frappato mixed together to make the freshness and the aromas of this area of the wine. This wine is the wine that in Sicily, for example, traditionally you can drink a little bit fresh, not too fresh, not too much, because I don't like too cold red, but at 16 degrees for me is perfect. Maybe in a balloon or in a good glass like the one that you had. And something quite special for me, and that here in the area they drink this wine with fish, for example, with tuna fish, with sauce, because it's a great red wine, not super big, but great friend of Sicilian.
Another question now from Elias. He's asking for you to comment the Contrada system in Mount Etna.
Yeah, control system on Mount Etna is a very good idea because help people to go through the Etna wines. And Etna appellation is not so big. There is only 1,000 hectares of vineyards, even if they are as big. But there is an enormous diversity because the vineyards go from 500 meters to 800 meters from the north part to the south part. So step by step, people could have an idea not only of the Etna as a unique place, but as a different style. And as you know, the most important wine area in the world, they have a classification in Cru or in Contrade or in whatever. So it starts like, if I can say, start like a very good marketing ideas, but now became a beautiful idea to show quality of Etna area, and it's very interesting. Complex, not easy, because in the Etna is different from other parts of the wine world, because if you are in Burgundy, all the system of the different crew is a system of geology and it's a system of economy. In the Etna, you have a different story because it's a story of eruption. Because if an eruption cover an area, change immediately the style of the contrada. So something that could happen very often, or in the last 5,500 years, for example. So it's a bit more complex, but it's a great opportunity for people to go through the real style of Etna wines.
Another question from Guilherme. He's asking if you, as an enologist, participate of the winemaking of all the wineries.
Yes, I have a resident winemaker in each winery, and what I like to do is to make their life impossible. So I go in each winery and trying to change to help them to show the potential of the area. When we have a new winery, usually I stay in the winery at the beginning, so because I need to understand how is the wine, I make myself the wine, and then I leave to the guys. But this year I will be back in a winery because with the COVID, I don't travel like in the past. So I will stop in a winery and make wine like when I was young. And then we have a consultant, a French consultant from Bordeaux. The name is Florent Dumont. And with him, we do brief 5 times every year, just to taste together, just to, to exchange. Because when you taste your wine every day, sometimes you need to exchange ideas with someone.
Yes, I think you already answered the question I was going to ask. Is that you having French grapes if you had a French consultant? You already.
Yes, no, we didn't have it until 2007 because I started making wine with Carlo Corino. Carlo Corino was a special person for me, and then when he died, he passed away. I stayed alone for 5 years, and then I said, okay, I need to have a winemaker. I need to have a sparring partner, and I was looking for a young winemaker, and I find this guy, Florent Dumont, in Bordeaux. And I like him very well. I like him a lot because he have a strong passion, he have a strong culture in winemaking. That is what I like, because I've studied myself agronomy, so I like to talk between professional, if I can say. And so with him, we try to do. He have in his business card Florent Dumont, enologiste du terroir. So the idea is that he help you not to make wine, but he help you to show your terroir of the different areas. This is, for me, is a great approach.
Well, now the Syrah.
Yeah.
Maroccoli.
Exactly, is a single vineyard. Is a single vineyard. Is in the Memphis area, so on the southwest of Sicily. And Maroccoli is a contrada at 400 meters, surrounded by mountains and by a lovely forest. So the more clean place maybe that we have. And these vineyards can see from one side the lake, from the other side the sea, at 20 kilometers, no, 15 kilometers. And so it's a great combination. Syrah doesn't need a presentation as variety, but was maybe need a presentation is how Syrah is in Sicily. You know, in the area of Memphis, I will never plant Syrah in, I don't know, in Noto, in Vittoria, or in Etna, or in Capomilazzo for sure. But Memphis is for me, is a great area for French grapes. It's a little bit like in Tuscany. You have some places that are only for sure for Sangiovese, but if you are in Bulgaria, you like to play with French grapes, and this is what we do in Memphis, where we play with Chardonnay, we play with Syrah, and so the style of our Syrah is, for me, is super interesting because it's a mix of the very classic smile or flavors of Syrah, but with a style of not super hot place like Memphis, but a more balanced weather condition. Not super jammy, not super alcoholic, because I don't like to do this wine. I like to do this wine when I was a young winemaker, but not today. And so this is the style. Aged in wood for 12 months. With 30% of new wood, and the rest is 2nd and 3 years old barriques, small barriques. And
well, I never tasted this wine before. Today is the first time I taste Syrah from Planeta, and for me it's surprising because I think it's the most mineral of all the 3 wines. The minerality is in front.
We have 15 today. That is a very good vintage for Morocco Syrah. I think it was 3 glasses Gambero Rosso, if I'm right, but for sure was a very good vintage with a low production. These vineyards are 25 years old, and is in a hill. It's a beautiful place, really, and French clones planted 25 years ago. Interesting style of Syrah. Some people said that Syrah is the French grapes that I say hello to Paola Brazuna, that I don't see her since 25 years.
She's here, yeah.
And no, I want to say that on the French grapes, maybe, you know, the most famous Syrah area are like I don't know, Côte-Rôtie or Barossa or whatever, where you have a serious summer. So Syrah likes to have dry summer, and in Sicily you usually have dry summer. That when you arrive at the harvest with a little bit of stress in the Syrah, that is help you to make a great Syrah.
Well, to me is a classic Syrah in a way. Has the fruit, has the spiciness, has the mouthfeel, but on top of that, very mineral and very mineral sensation in the mouthfeel, nose and mouth. Very amazing, different Syrah, very, very good. And you mentioned, of course, Syrah is a grape that goes very well in warm climate. How is climate change affecting Sicily?
Well, I said to you before, my impression is that, first of all, not in the direction of dryness. In Sicily, we are having more rain today than in the past. And this could be good, but what is not good is that sometimes we have big rain. 10 days ago in the city of Palermo, there was a storm in the center of the city, and the city was under the water. And this is in July in Sicily. So what we see, maybe the global warming bring the water of the Mediterranean a little bit warmer. There is a little bit more humidity on the sea, and sometimes this humidity in summer times touch the high temperature of the land and make some storm. So I prefer the past, as many of us. Maybe except people living in the North Pole, but you know, it's not on the dryness. It's more on the unpredictable weather condition. What as producers, what we are doing is that we are a little bit moving our vineyards a little bit on the higher, like at 250 meters, 400 meters. And of course, we play less with some grapes that variety that there are some Sicilian varieties very adapted to our weather, like Grillo, like Grecanico, like Nero d'Avola. So this is what's going to happen in Sicily.
Do you irrigate your vines?
Some of them, yes, not the one in the altitude. And for me, irrigation, if you play in the right way, is a quality story. And this is our philosophy. For example, of course, we stop irrigation quite before the harvest, but in some area it's better to have irrigation just in case you need it. But we don't do, of course, in the Etna, in Capomilazzo, or in the high hills of Memphis. We do a little bit sometimes in the southeast. Yeah.
And do you make Marsala?
No, we don't make Marsala. We don't make Marsala because, first of all, you know, Marsala, to make a good Marsala, you need time, because the great Marsala are done with a reserve. So if your grandfather leave you some, because, you know, Marsala every year, they take some out and they put some in. So you need a long time. And the second reason is that so Marsala is a different. It's a different story. You need the old wines, and as you know, to sell Marsala is not the easier things in the world. So to start a project, project today is hard, because who at the end of the meal now want to have a glass of sweet wine? In Sicily, we are in a small area like Sicily. We have 5 different sweet wine. We have Marsala, we have Pantelleria, we have Moscato di Noto, we have Moscato di Siracusa, we have Malvasia delle Lipari. So a Sicilian classic lunch in summertime is some dessert and some sweet wine. That's all. This gives you our Arabian culture, that when it's hot, you have sweet things for your body, not fat things, but sweet things. But now people don't do this, or they do a little bit less. So I hope a new future for Marsala, but not done by Planeta. We have 5 wineries.
We only have 2 more minutes. My last question: How are you doing with COVID? Is it affecting the next crop?
Look, in Sicily, sometimes to be isolated by the rest of the world, sometimes could be good. So we didn't have a lot of people affected. Of course, we went in lockdown, but in the country area, lockdown was a little bit more soft, because you need to go to the country area. And so the big problem of course, for the economy, but not for everyday life, because in Sicily there were very low numbers of problems. Still, people start to be back for tourism, and you know, step by step we are going back to something not normal, but close to normal, to normal.
Well, let's think. People are warning me
and of course, good luck for your country, and I hope that you will go out as fast as possible. Stay at home when is there's too many people.
Yes, I'm in lockdown, and I'm want to go out as soon as possible to visit Sicily.
We wait for you, and we had not only you but all Brazilian friends, and hoping to be back to the normal life as soon as possible.
So people from Interfood is warning me that wines are available in todovino.com.br, todovino.com.br. Os vinhos do Planeta estão disponíveis lá para vocês, tá? Alessio, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Salute.
See you soon in Sicily or in Brazil.
Perfetto, grazie mille.
Bye bye.
Thank you everybody. Grazie.
Obrigado a todos.
Grazie.